I was standing and he was sitting on his small dais, so he was looking up at me, and he had the look of a very happy, innocent young child. And I could see that he actually had all the time in the world for me. He wasn't short of time. I asked questions, he would answer. Then after some time, he moved to a somewhat better neighborhood on 2nd Avenue. We helped him rent a small storefront there, and he had an apartment in the back. And within a few weeks' time, this little storefront on 2nd Avenue, on the Lower East Side of New York, which was then populated by thousands of young hippies, had been transformed into a beautiful Krishna temple.
Hare Krishna movement has taken root. As in New York, Bhaktivedanta Swami gathers sincere followers. The Hare Krishna movement begins to grow. Bhaktivedanta Swami becomes respectfully known as Prabhupada, meaning one at whose feet the masters sit.
Mataji, we can pause now. Hey. Thank you so much. Okay. Where are we? Thank you, everyone. Sorry, I got a little late. So let's start. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjan Chalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Taptakanchen Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishpanusute Devi Pranamami Hadi Priyai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Mam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna. Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. So today's chapter, I'll finish the class quickly because I'm a little late. And then we can go to question answers. Today's chapter is called Vibhuti Yoga, or the opulence of the absolute truth. Yesterday's chapter was most confidential knowledge. Let's pay our obeisances to Shri Radha Govinda before we proceed. These are the topics you discussed yesterday in 9th chapter, Bhagavad Aishwarya Gyan, where Krishna emphasizes the importance of the confidential knowledge. And then he describes ways to approach Krishna. And then sweetness of exclusive devotion, where this verse, Manvana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru, this verse is repeated twice in Bhagavad Gita, the 9.34. It's 9.34 and then I think it's 18.55. Same verse. Manvana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyajimam Namaskuru. So this particular chapter, Krishna is going to speak I'm sorry, Arjun is going to speak after a long time. The last time Arjun ever spoke to Krishna and asked the question was 8th chapter, verse number 2, where he was asking what are the 8 questions? Adi, Bhuta, Adi, Yagna, Adi Deva, and all. Prayan Kale, where does Adi Yagna reside? How to know him at the time of death? Those questions are karma. So he's going to ask another question to Krishna in 10th chapter, but Krishna starts the chapter. So Krishna is unknowable and source of all. This is a very big discussion, but we'll give you just a glimpse of it in the first 7 verses. And then pure bhakti is the essence. So these 4 verses, 8, 9, 10, and 11, is actually the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. It's called Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, 8, 9, 10, and 11. After hearing all this, Arjun accepts Krishna's supreme position, and then he requests Krishna to speak about more of his opulences. Arjun wants to know more about Krishna. And then Krishna describes, he says, I have so many opulences, but I'll describe some of the prominent ones to you. And he describes 82 opulences. Okay, verse number 1, the Supreme Lord said, my dear friend, mighty Arjun, listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart for your benefit, which will give you great joy. So yeah, here Krishna is saying, listen again to my supreme word. Krishna has been glorifying the spiritual knowledge or the knowledge about his opulence and everything. Now, one may question that what makes Krishna speak about himself? Some people may think that Krishna might be proud of what he possesses. But that's not correct. Krishna is going to slash that doubt in a subsequent verse. It's not that he's very proud of what he possesses. The problem is that there is no other person who can talk about what Krishna has. There's nobody. Our understanding, even if a person is most exalted Brahmana or a Jnani, is still under the realm of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. A person in the mode of goodness is supposed to be situated in knowledge. But Krishna is beyond the mode of goodness. So if I am restricted this is something like this, Prabhupada explains like this. He says there are two frogs. Okay, one frog lives in the well and the other frog lives in the ocean. Now, one time the frog that lives in the ocean came to visit the frog that lives in the well, and the well frog never actually left the well. Okay, all his life he's been living in the well, and he's been thinking that this is all in all. So when his friend comes from ocean, he's asking, how big is your house? And the ocean frog is saying, very big. How big? Is it 2 times the well? No, it's very big. Okay, so 3 times the well. No, very big. Okay, 10 times the well. No, very big. Mane, the point is that the frog who's living in the well cannot actually contemplate and speculate how big the ocean is. Right or wrong? Because he has never left that place. Can he, by his imagination, understand how big the ocean is? Just by
you have to guide regarding some investment, or you have to do some investment, or you have some investment, or you want to talk to. So exactly, I'm not able to know what exactly you want to.
Okay, this is called as Kupa Manduka, right?
Right. Thank you. So in the same way, if somebody may be very knowledgeable, somebody may be very intellectually inclined, but they still cannot talk about Krishna. Cannot. Because that's why Krishna talks about himself. Because Krishna's can be compared to a very big ocean. And then our whatever big knowledge or small knowledge is under the realm of a well, which is more of goodness. And Krishna is again saying that he's going to impart this knowledge for our benefit. It's not that when Krishna talks about himself, then Krishna is gaining more followers. No, he's talking about himself for our benefit, and it will give us great joy. So Krishna is selfless, actually. And this particular verse clarifies the point I was making before. Name vidusura ganaha prabhavam namaha shreyaha ahamadirhi deva namaha shri namcha sarvasaha Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect, I am the source of demigods and the sages. Okay, so because he is the source of demigods and sages, nobody can actually speak about Krishna in toto other than Krishna. So that makes Krishna kind of alone to talk about himself. And he talks about himself for our benefit, and it will give us great joy that Krishna has already emphasized in the previous verse. And 10.3 tells us the three qualities by which a devotee understands Krishna, a pure devotee. And these three qualities are present only in Krishna. There is no other personality who is sharing all the three qualities. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the words, he undiluted among men is freed from all sins. So, unborn, beginningless, supreme Lord of all the worlds. No one in the entire knowledge of creation has all the three things. We can say Brahma is Aja, Brahma is unborn, but he's not beginningless. He has a beginning. And he's not the supreme Lord of all the worlds. And you can take any other personality. They will not fit into all the three at the same time. So Krishna enjoys the exclusive what do you call it? Decoration of all the qualities. This is from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this painting where his mother, Devaki, when she was carrying Krishna, the demigods from other higher planetary systems would come and they wanted to pay obeisance and circumambulate Mother Devaki's body because she was carrying Krishna within. Everyone was coming. It's very noted. And then what happens is that the human beings are not supposed to see the demigods. But Krishna played the trick and he gave Mother Devaki the sense that there are demigods in the room. So she could hear them and she could see the shadows. And then she would be very surprised that who's coming in the prison like that at this odd hour. So she used to tell Vasudev that I think the demigods are coming from the other planetary systems because I can sense them. And then when the demigods would hear that conversation, they would be like surprised that, oh, she's not supposed to see us, but she's seeing us. This must be Krishna's potency. It's very interesting how Krishna tricks. The seven great sages, and before them 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in this planet descend from them. So there are like 25 personalities named here, which are actually the origin or progenitors of mankind. 7 sages and 4 of the great sages makes it 11, and then there are 11. And then there are 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. So 11 plus 14 is 25. So 25 personalities, they come out of Krishna's mind. And then they are given the task of creating and populating all the planets across, not just Earth. But they also don't know Krishna because they're not beginningless. Their beginning is from the mind of Krishna, and Krishna was existing before them. Tam vibhutim yogam cha mam yo veti tatvataha sa vikalpena yogena yujyatena atra sanchayaha. He who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So somebody who's completely fixed in this knowledge of Krishna. The importance of knowing the scriptures is that one becomes fixed. If I don't have a knowledge, then I'll be like, I can be distracted and taken to this route or that route or this route. But once somebody has become fixed, that yes, this is what Krishna says, and this is what is the reality, and this is, and I believe this reference with full conviction, then the action of that personality will be that person will be engaged in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. See, this is like a superlative that not only that person is engaged in unlearned devotional service, and there is no doubt that this is going to happen. So avikalpena yogena yujyate na atra sanchayah. There is not even an iota of doubt that this is going to happen. So if you see a devotee of Krishna who has dedicated their lives and are fixed in the devotional service to Krishna, then understand that they have already understood that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead with all their intelligence and conviction. Like Srila Prabhupada. We can take the example of Srila Prabhupada, that he was fixed. What made him so fixed? Why was he not getting deviated? Why was he not getting a sidetrack that maybe I can enjoy the life in this way or that way, but completely fixed, Vivasatmika Buddhi, because his pure unalloyed devotional service is a result of understanding who Krishna is. So this is Krishna and Balram when they are entering Mathura. This is the gate of Mathura. This is described in first canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna and Balram are so attractive that everyone, even the people standing at the top of the mountain, or the ladies standing on the top of the roof of their homes, everyone, or the animals in this painting, the cows, the elephants, everyone actually became attracted to Krishna and Balram. Everyone turned their faces. Whatever they were doing, they forgot, because Krishna is so beautiful. Krishna and Balram. Now, some may argue that how come this place is so crowded and they are so little? How come they can be seen by everyone? You see, that's what, right? That's what, because we are trying to understand Krishna within the realm of our goodness, passion, and ignorance. This is the question. These are the kind of questions that come. But the answer is given in the scriptures, that there are billions and billions of people across the globe, and there is one sun in the sky. So because of so much population on the surface of the earth, is the shining of the sun cannot be seen by everyone at the same time, because people are crowding it so much, or it can still be seen by everyone?
It can be seen by everyone.
It can still be seen, because it is so effulgent, overpowers. So thank you. Like that, Krishna and Balram were very conveniently seen by whoever wanted to see them from their heart. Now, these are the four verses, 8, 9, 10, 11, which basically describe the essence. And a sense of all Vedic knowledge culminates in three things, which we will discuss in the higher levels of classes. But just to summarize, Sambandha, Abhidya, Prayojan. All the Vedic knowledge ends in three things: Sambandha, Abhidya, Prayojan. Sambandha means, what is my relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And Abhidya is, okay, once I have a relationship, what's the activity in that relationship? Prayojan means goal. What is the goal behind having a relationship and doing an activity in it? So these four verses establish that. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this is the relationship. Krishna is the creator and I am created. I am the source and I am and me or you or living entity is the effect. So I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Even Vishnu, this is Mahavishnu, comes from Krishna. Krishna expands himself as Sankarshan. Sankarshan expands himself as Mahavishnu for the sake of creating the material world. Mat chitta mat gata prana bodhayantam parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So these are the activities of that relationship. Somebody who is pure devotee and is engaged in unalloyed devotional service, then these are their activities. They're thinking. Krishna is thinking about the pure devotee. So thoughts of my pure devotee dwell in me. And the pure devotee's life is surrendered to Krishna. You will not find anything in the life of Krishna. I know this pastime of Prabhupada when he was in Germany, in the beginning, when the movement was getting started, and he was in Germany, and he was making the devotees in Germany, people got suspicious that how can somebody be so exalted? How can somebody be so simple? Right. So what they did at that time, there were no security cameras or apps that you can, stalk a person. So the devotees, they used to monitor Prabhupada's life, a daily routine through the key eye of a door. You know, in the door, there is a eye in which you can put the key to open and close. So from that place, they used to see what Prabhupada is doing. So they would see that Prabhupada is sometimes reading, sometimes translating, sometimes chanting, sometimes eating prasadam, sometimes taking the rest, sometimes think there's nothing else. Whatever he was portraying outside to the outside world, he was living it in personal space also. So there was no gap between what he said and what he meant. So that's pure devotee. The gap is completely filled with Krishna. So their lives are surrendered to me. And then they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Krishna says, right, that I live where my devotees are living. So when we sit with the like-minded devotees and we discuss Krishna consciousness, so many mysteries of the scriptures come into manifestation. We can read Bhagavad Gita alone, right? This is available online. There is a hard copy available. But when we sit and discuss about it, how many of you can raise your hand, okay, for that? How many of you feel that there is a different meaning added when we are actually discussing in person? How many of you think like that? It says you can read it on your own. So 5, 6, 7 devotees. Okay, I guess maybe I'm getting benefit of doubt. Thank you. Yes, how many of you feel that discussing adds more value than just reading alone?
Yes,
Discussing
Mataji.
is a valued, Mataji.
Discussing adds
Mataji dance.
Yes, Mataji.
value.
So that's
Mataji, you cannot understand Bhagavad Gita without an
Mataji.
explanation. You cannot read it and understand it. It has to be heard. Only then it makes so much of meaning.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you very
Mataji.
much.
Otherwise, we'll have our own perception of what we read.
Okay, thank you very much. So you can lower your hands. Thank you. So that's proving just this point, that they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one and then conversing about me. There's another meaning of this word. Now, I know this is the beginning level class, but I can still put some interest. Madgata prana. So Madgata prana is like, I am the life of my, I'm the living force of my pure devotees. If they can't do Krishna consciousness, they think they cannot live any longer. Okay, and this is Prabhupada. Let's see if this will pray.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
So that's Prabhupada in San Francisco Rath Yatra. Tesham satata yukta nam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So actually, this is one of my favorite verses, because sometimes on the journey of Krishna consciousness, the more one understands, the more one reads, the more one actually understands that I don't know anything. So this may actually serve as a discouragement that, oh, how am I going to go ahead now? So Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yen mam upayanti te. Krishna gives the understanding. Okay, so we are not alone in this journey. Krishna is sitting in my heart as super soul and will actually guide me. That's faith. This is actually encourages reinforces the faith of a devotee in this path, that I am not alone. Yes, I may not know. Yes, I may have started very late in life. Yes, I may not have so much of knowledge, but I have this desire that I want to do it. And Krishna is promising that he's going to help me from within, from my heart. Okay, so this is a prayojan, the goal, that is to go back to Krishna. So, and Krishna is also eager to get the devotee back. Tesham evanukam partham aham agyanat jam tamaha na shayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvataha. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this darkness born of ignorance is like this doubt that how do I really belong to Krishna? Or is Krishna really the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Or will I ever be able to go back? So these kind of questions are born out of ignorance, and Krishna in the heart takes the charge for destroying that darkness. And the path going back to Godhead is straightened out. So you see, when Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days to live, he sent Sukdev Goswami to guide him. 7 days were more than enough for him to go back to Krishna. Or Kapil Muni was instructing his own mother about the science of Krishna consciousness. Okay, or this is Nar Narayan, right? In Nar Narayan incarnation, Krishna delivered so many of his devotees. So when Krishna heard that Pratushloki 8, 9, 10, 11, where 8 is like Sambandha, 10 is 9 is Abhidya, activity, and 10 and 11 are Prayojan, or the goal of having a relationship and having an activity with Krishna, Arjun goes in ecstasy. I'm not a pure devotee, he's not hearing from a pure devotee, so none of us are in ecstasy, but Arjun goes in ecstasy because he's hearing from Krishna directly. So he offers this prayer, and I request all of you to memorize this prayer. Arjuna Vacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Aham Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devrashi Naradas Tatha Asitau Devalau Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjun said, you are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode, the purifier, the absolute truth, and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages such as Narad, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa proclaimed this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So when Arjun heard Krishna declaring these glories of knowledge, this is the time when he's speaking after a very long time, since 8th chapter. And one may say, and he's offering heartfelt prayers to Krishna. So one may say that Arjun is Krishna's friend, and sometimes a friend likes to praise another friend. So maybe it is out of the friendship. So to slash that doubt, Arjun gives reference. That he's saying, is addressing Krishna as Supreme Brahman, ultimate supreme abode, purifier, absolute truth, eternal divine person, primeval God, transcendental, original, unborn, all-pervading beauty. But I'm not the only one who's saying it. By references that Narad, Asita, Devala, Vyasa also proclaimed this of you. And now you yourself are also saying the same thing. So he's giving evidences. So let's garland Krishna. So Param Brahma, you're the supreme truth. Param Dhama, you're the ultimate abode. Pavitram, purest, untainted by material contamination. Param Bhavan, absolute truth. Purusham, a person, supreme enjoyer. Shashvatam, eternal. Divyam, transcendental. Adi Devam, original Lord. Ajam, unborn. Vibhum, greatest. Accepted by all acharyas like Narad, Asita, Devala, Vyasa. You yourself are declaring it to me. I totally accept this truth. Neither the demigods or the demons can understand your personality. That is why Krishna needs to speak about himself. Sarvametam ritan manne yanmam vadashi keshavaha na hite bhagwan vyaktim vidur devana danavaha. Oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the gods or demons, O Lord, know thy personality. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own potencies, O origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, O supreme person, Lord of the universe. This he's repeating a lot because he's in ecstasy. When somebody goes in transcendental ecstasy, you keep repeating the same thing. So the acceptance of Arjun of all that Krishna says should be emulated. Then we can understand the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and then only can we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now he puts this question, the 17th verse is a question. How should I meditate on you? In what various forms are you to be contemplated, O blessed Lord? Tell me again in detail, O Janardhan Krishna, of your mighty potencies and glories, for I never tire of hearing your ambrosial words. So he's asking, he's already accepted that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, supreme object of meditation. But for our benefit, because some devotees are still attached to the material concept of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for our benefit, he's again asking Krishna to describe where can I actually see, what can I actually see and think that, oh, this is Krishna. In what various forms are you to be contemplated? Okay, forms. So Krishna has a spiritual form, but in what various form that I can actually perceive in my present consciousness? Can you please tell me? And how can I go ahead in devotional service? The blessed Lord said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjun, for my opulence is limitless. Okay, now we're going to do this. So I am going to, please speak after I ask you a question. Please, let's not go over each other. And each of the opulence is very, very relishing to know indeed. Who is this? One with the thunderbolt on top of the head. Who is this? Who is this? Indra, very nice. Who is this? Ganges is coming out from the head.
Shiva.
Okay. What planet is this? What planet is this? Moon. Very nice. Who is this? What horse is this? Transcendental horse. Ucheshrava. Ucheshrava one came out from the churning of the Mandara hill. Who is this? Who is this? Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha. What syllable is this? What season is this where the plants are bearing the fruits? Flowers.
Spring.
Autumn is fall. Spring. Okay. Who is this green color with the big bow?
Rama.
Very nice. Rama. Which cow is this? The transcendental cow.
Kamadhenu.
Very nice. Kamdhenu. Who is this?
Narad Muni.
Who is this four-headed with Vedas? Brahma. Chaturmukhi Brahma. Very nice. So who is this? The great warrior among the Pandavas? Arjun. Who is this who gave us all the Vedic knowledge?
Vedas.
Which bird is this on which? Garuda. Who is this? At the age of 5 years, he was teaching Krishna. Which animal is this which lives in the water? It's actually a mammal. Shark. Very nice. Shark. So who is this sitting on the top of peacock? Kartikeya. Who is this with a rope in the hand and is the god of the waters? No, god of the waters, not the water. Varun Dev. Who is this with a stick and a rope in hand to punish the misgivers? Yam. Very nice. Who is this? What kind of a serpent is this with lot of hoods?
Vasuki.
Which animal is this?
Lion.
Very nice. Who is this? The finance ministers or demigods?
Kubera.
Who is this? The resident of the higher planetary system who sings very well and who's a friend of Arjun? Chitraratha. Which, what is the name of this elephant on which
Airavat.
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 Which hill is this on the back?
Kailash.
Kailash.
Meru, Mount Meru. This represents Krishna. Thank you very much. So Krishna goes and talks about all these opulences. 82 number he describes, 82 of them. Okay, so among the Adityas I represent Vishnu, among the sources of light I am the sun, among the Maruts I am Marichi, among all the stars I am represent the moon, among all the Vedas I am the Samaved, among all the demigods I represent Indra, the chief of the demigods, among all the senses I represent the mind, among the living beings and the living force, among the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kuvera. Like that, he goes on explaining 82 of these opulences. The singer of the demigods, Chitraratha, sages of demigods, I represent Narada. Perfected beings, the Siddha, I represent Kapila. Horses, Ucheshwara, lordly elephants, Airavat. Among body of waters, ocean. Among the vibrations, Om. Among chanting of the holy names, among all the sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy name. Like he goes on describing, you can read all the opulences from verse number 21 to verse number 38. All these. In woman, Krishna represents fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, and patience. Okay, so then he says at the end, furthermore, O Arjun, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being, moving or unmoving, that can exist without me. So nothing can actually exist without Krishna, moving or non-moving, because he is the generating seed of all the existences. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. So it's like a sample. I explain it like that. Let's say that there is a very rich person in your country, wherever you are situated. So the media, if they want to show the opulence of this country, of this person, or whoever is the very rich person, then they say, okay, see, on their family function, they wore this designer dress, this designer jewelry, this are the shoes, these are the, so basically to show the opulence, right? Are you following what I'm saying? Right or wrong? That's what media focuses, right? Generally.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, to show that. Thank you. Thank you so much. That they're so rich. See, that's why they're wearing these clothes, this jewelry, that jewelry, just to show the sample of how rich they are. So Krishna is so rich. His samples are these. what we just read. His sample, I am Indra, and I am Lord Shiva. I am Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I am Airavat. So this is so rich that these are his samples. Yad yad vibhuti mat satvam shrimat urjitam eva va tad tad eva gacchata tvam mama tejo amsha sambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So Krishna doesn't have to like work. You see, if a person has to become very rich in this world, or very famous, or very beautiful, or very whatever, they have to work hard, right? They have to like really work hard and put together their effort in the day and night to achieve. Now Krishna doesn't become God like that he has to work hard to claim the godlyship. No, Krishna is his desires. Is all is just manifesting from the spark of a splendor. Spark of a splendor represents Paramatma, or Paramatma feature of the God in our heart. But he doesn't really have to, work and and do so many, overcome so many roadblocks. No. It's just there. This is the last verse. Athava bahune tena kim gyatvena tavarjuna vistabhyam idam kritsam ekam shena sito jagat. But what need is there, Arjun, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So there's no need to understand, because I am pervading and supporting the entire universe with just single fragment of mind. And that single fragment of mind is Shridaksha, Vishnu, or super soul, present in the heart of every living entity. Every living entity. Everyone has super soul feature of Krishna, because everyone belongs to Krishna. You see, there is a book for children. It's called The Invisible String. So what the theme of the book is, I'm just taking example of that to explain what Krishna is trying to say, is that the story goes like this. Sorry to go sidetrack, but it has a relevance. That there is this mother and she has two children, and the two children are very small, and one night they're sleeping and it starts thunderbolting outside and raining. So the children get up and they're very scared because it's dark and it's raining and there is a thunderbolt outside. So they go to their mom and they wake her up, that mommy, we are very scared because there is so much of thunderbolt and lightning outside. So the mother is full of love for the children. So she seats the children in her lap and starts talking to them. She says, you're scared because you feel alone, but you're never alone because I am always connected to you with the string. Wherever you go, when you go to school, I am with you. When you go to play with your friends, I'm with you. When you go to when you go to your extracurricular activities, I'm with you. When you're sleeping, I'm with you. I'm always with you. So children are reinforcing, oh, so are you with me when I'm doing in my art class? Are you with me when I'm in my music class? So they're like, talking to their mom and echoing it back that we are indeed understanding what you're trying to say. Says yes. And then and so this mom says that this string actually is so big that it never ends, and this string is invisible. It's invisible. And so this, and you know what this string is made of? You know what this string is made of? The children say, no, we don't know. Oh, this string is made of love. So you carry my love everywhere you go. So similarly, and then the children go on to say that, so is there a string between me and my grandparents also? Is there a string between me and Uncle John also, who died yes, because the string of love support is connecting each one of us, because we are connected and centrally. So their idea was we are connected as a family, but here the idea is that we are connected to each other because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is situated in each and in everyone's heart. So we are actually connected to each other with this invisible string of love, which has been sewn by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna in Shridaksha Vishnu form has come with us in everyone's heart and is trying to connect each one of us with Krishna in the center. And that connection is pure. That connection is very, very pure because it is not under the modes of material nature. The connections that we make in this world minus Krishna are under the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance, and they always lead to some kind of a frustration. But if we make a connection with this super soul, the principle that I am indeed sitting here and talking about Krishna, you are also indeed sitting here and listening about Krishna. So the center point is Krishna. That connection is very strong. A very, very strong connection. And Krishna actually wants us to have that kind of a connection. And that's the principle or foundation head of the ISKCON International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Let's get connected to each other with Krishna in the center of our lives. Okay. So that's what he's saying, that with a single fragment of myself, that single fragment is this Shridaksha Vishnu. I pervade and support this entire universe. So we must accept this with all our conviction and understanding and not blame Krishna. I've heard it a lot now, given enough classes to understand that people think that Krishna is proud, which we may think, but he's not, because Krishna is actually alone in his position. So Krishna is unknowable and source of all. We clarified, okay, Krishna is the source, Krishna is unborn, beginningless, and the supreme lord of all the worlds, and he himself is saying it, and no one can actually explain who Krishna is because everyone came after Krishna. So for this is very well established in verse 7 verses, Name Vidu Sura Ganaha. Then pure bhakti, essence of Bhagavad Gita, 8 to 11 verse, Machchitta Madgata Prana, where Sambandha, Vidya, and Prayojan is established. Arjuna accepts Krishna's supreme position, offers prayers, and puts a question in verse 17 and 18 that tell me more of your forms, which I can meditate on. Sarvam etam ritad manye. Krishna describes his 82 opulences or vibhutis, and at the end he says that this was not needed indeed. Okay, because I joined late, we already played the video, so I'll not play the video. But I'll be happy to take up the questions if you have questions. And let me see if I have questions for you. Please ask questions. The questions are good. And there is no question which is not good question. Okay, here you go. You can answer my questions. What made Arjun to conclude that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Origin, the cause of all causes? From verse 12 and 13. Vedic literatures confirm that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. Great sages proclaimed that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. Krishna himself declared that he is the Supreme Personality. All of these. The second question is, what is the effect of knowing the greatness of Krishna? One becomes an atheist, one becomes fixed in devotional service, one becomes a mystic, none of the above.